The Minnesota Vikings locker room following a victory is usually a place of relief and celebration, especially after a primetime win on Sunday Night Football against a marquee opponent like the Dallas Cowboys. However, my sources close to the situation have indicated that the vibe in the post-game press conference and the corridors of the stadium was far more complex than the final score would suggest. While the scoreboard showed a victory, the dynamic between head coach Kevin O'Connell and his young quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, revealed a layer of friction that has become a central talking point among insiders around the league. The tension stems from a specific moment in the second quarter, a rushing touchdown by McCarthy, followed by a gritty-like celebration that, I'm told, was explicitly forbidden by the coaching staff prior to the game. Kevin O'Connell is known for his offensive brilliance and his ability to nurture quarterback talent, but he is also a stickler for discipline and adherence to the game plan, both tactically and behaviorally. When McCarthy crossed the goal line and broke into that celebration, it wasn't just a release of emotion, it was an act of defiance. Reports confirmed that McCarthy had attempted this celebration in practice during the week and was directly told by the coaching staff not to execute it in a live game setting. In a revealing post-game admission, McCarthy stated that being told not to do it actually made him more enticed to do it. From an organizational standpoint, that specific quote is raising eyebrows. In the NFL, coachability is the currency that young quarterbacks trade in, and openly admitting that a direct order from the head coach fueled a desire to disobey it, even over something as trivial as a dance, speaks to a maturity curve that this staff is still navigating. Despite the behavioral friction, it is impossible to ignore the on-field production we are witnessing. I have been analyzing the tape, and McCarthy is showing flashes of the elite ceiling that convinced general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah to draft him. Against a Cowboys defense that, while struggling, still boasts significant talent, McCarthy finished 15 of 24 passing for 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He added 15 yards on the ground, including that controversial score. This performance comes on the heels of a dominant 31-0 shutout against the Washington Commanders, where he threw for 163 yards and 3 touchdowns. For the first time in his young career, we are seeing consecutive weeks of high-level competency. The arm talent is undeniable, the ability to extend plays is evident, and his command of the offense between the 20-yard lines is improving rapidly. However, context is critical here. The Vikings are sitting at 6-8 and have been mathematically eliminated from playoff contention. This is a stark contrast to the 2024 campaign, where the team went 14-3 with Sam Darnold operating the offense. The regression in the win column has placed a microscope on the quarterback position. While the fan base is understandably excited about McCarthy's recent statistical output, the front office is looking at a broader, more concerning picture. My understanding is that the evaluation of McCarthy is not just about his touchdown-to-interception ratio, it is about his availability and his judgment. The 22-year-old missed his entire rookie season following knee surgery, sat out 5 games this year with a high ankle sprain, and missed Week 13 due to a concussion. That is a significant injury history for a player who has started a limited number of professional games. When I speak to executives around the league, the consensus is that reliability is the most underrated attribute for a franchise quarterback. The best ability is availability, and McCarthy has struggled to stay on the field. This inconsistency, paired with the recent friction regarding his coachability, suggests that the Vikings are approaching the upcoming offseason with a very specific strategy. I am hearing strong indications that Minnesota is highly likely to aggressively pursue a veteran quarterback next year. This would not necessarily be to replace McCarthy outright, but to provide high-level insurance and genuine competition. The days of handing the keys to the franchise over to McCarthy without a safety net appear to be over. The coaching staff needs to know that if the starter goes down, or if the defiance we saw on Sunday bleeds into play-calling execution, there is a seasoned veteran ready to step in and run O'Connell's complex scheme effectively. The next 3 weeks are essentially an audition for McCarthy's immediate future as the undisputed QB1. The schedule presents a fascinating gauntlet. First, they go on the road to face the New York Giants on December 21st, followed by a high-stakes emotional matchup hosting the Detroit Lions on Christmas Day. They close the season at home against the Green Bay Packers. These are not throwaway games for the front office. They are looking for consistency. McCarthy has shown he can win on the road against Chicago and Detroit previously, but he has yet to string together 3 or 4 consecutive games of turnover-free, decisive football. If he reverts to erratic play or suffers another injury, the calls for a major acquisition in the quarterback room will become deafening. Kevin O'Connell's system demands a quarterback who operates within the framework of the play. The low-key wild post-game sequence described by ESPN's Kevin Seifert highlights a philosophical clash. The structured McVay tree disciplined approach of O'Connell versus the improvisational, somewhat rebellious nature of McCarthy. While the talent is tantalizing, the friction is real. The Vikings organization prides itself on a collaborative culture, and public defiance, regardless of the result, disrupts that ecosystem. The coaching staff is looking for McCarthy to prove he can be a CEO of the offense, not just a playmaker who goes rogue when the mood strikes.
As we look toward the final stretch of this 2025 season, the narrative has shifted from development to evaluation. Every snap McCarthy takes against the Giants, Lions, and Packers will be scrutinized not just for physical execution, but for decision-making and adherence to the scheme. The front office has a difficult decision to make regarding resource allocation next spring. Do they spend cap space on a premium backup, or do they use those funds to bolster the offensive line and defense, trusting McCarthy to mature? The answer likely lies in how he handles these final 3 weeks, and whether he listens to his coach the next time he approaches the end zone. Ultimately, Vikings fans need to ask themselves a hard question as the season concludes. Is the flash and swagger of J.J. McCarthy worth the volatility and injury risk, or should the team prioritize a stable veteran presence to return to the winning ways of 2024?